What is $1,000 if you're going back to a place where you may lose your life? They risk their lives, many of them coming over here in the first place. This administration continuously tells us that they love to kick people when they're already down. Taking the Constitution and, as I said at the DNC, putting it through a paper shredder.
We've got a rather spicy CNN segment to hop into featuring Jasmine Crockett, who has become the target of attacks from the president over the last few weeks from some odd obsession, unexplainable really. So if you can to start, leave us a like on the video. It really helps us out, really helps the channel. And let's see what she has to say so far about this failed second Trump administration.
We have a president of the United States who has no idea about the oath that he just took on January 20th. Tells me everything that I need to know. He didn't even have good sense enough in that same interview to say something as simple as, yes, I will follow the Constitution. You know, the thing that actually derived from the oath that he was supposed to take. And he supposedly took an oath, which there's a lot of people that point out that he never put his hand on the Bible, even though he acts as if he could somehow be the Pope. But nevertheless, that oath specifically says that you will defend the Constitution. So the idea that you are now taking the Constitution and, as I said at the DNC, putting it through a paper shredder is a problem. And I think that this should not be partisan.
And I agree. The Constitution, constitutional principles are the backbone of our country. And while there are plenty of parts of the Constitution that are wrong, that have needed changed over time, we have a process to do that, to fix it, to amend those. And what it upholds, the Constitution, and that being this liberal democracy we have created, is truly the American experiment that is worth protecting over all else. So operating outside the scope of it entirely is to destroy everything America stands for, right? And which is why these people shouldn't even have a seat at the table when that is their goal. If you're trying to play basketball and someone keeps tackling you because they want to play football, you're just not going to let them play the game anymore. Now, when the game is democracy and the other person wants to play something else, the same standards should be held there.
Would you advise any undocumented individual who comes to you that maybe they should take the money and go back to their home country? What's your take on it all?
I wouldn't trust this administration for anything. First of all, they are terrible about paying their bills, number one. Number two, most of those people that have come over, regardless of what this administration said, they came over because they were fleeing things such as the fact that they don't have the opportunity to work and earn a living, or they're fleeing political violence. And so what is $1,000 if you're going back to a place where you may lose your life? They risk their lives, many of them coming over here in the first place. That's number one. Number two, I want to see some numbers. Where in the heck did you just pull this number out of your back pocket saying that they're costing us approximately $100 million? I'm sorry, not $100 million, $1 million for each undocumented person. The only numbers that we have show that we receive approximately $100 billion in tax revenue from undocumented people, so much so that they decided that they want to go to the IRS and get the IRS to help them as they go and seek these people.
And that's honestly a really good point that I wish that I made first. Why would the Trump administration seek out the IRS's help to find undocumented migrants if they aren't paying taxes? And in Texas specifically, where there is a large population of undocumented migrants, where Jasmine Crockett represents, we know for a fact from a Rice Institute study, undocumented immigrants create more revenue than is spent on them, providing a net benefit annually year over year. We know that the next 10 years nationally, they will contribute $1 trillion to our tax base, and we know they are far less likely to commit violent crimes or crime in general than any US-born citizen. At this point, the only reason you could defend mass deportations is outright blatant racism or ignorance that led you into buying into the right-wing propaganda like they're taking our jobs that isn't borne out in any bit of data.
We consistently offer breaks to those that are paying out multi-billion-dollar bonuses, whether it's in the banking industry, whether it's in the auto industry. We continue to offer those kind of bailouts. But when it comes to the everyday working person, the person that is going to feel these failed tariffs policies the most, as they are doing a historic amount of firings in our federal government, which means that it's not just going to impact those that are being fired. It's going to impact those restaurants in those areas where those workers would normally go. It's going to impact those grocery stores where they normally shop and the places that they go and buy clothes. So listen, everyone is about to be hurt. Every expert that you talk to, they will tell you that if we are not currently in a recession, we are headed towards one. And this is when you decide that you want to go after people. Frankly, this administration continuously tells us that they love to kick people when they're already down.
They're doing this to justify the fact they're about to pull massively from our revenue base when Trump signs huge tax breaks for billionaires into law, as he offers on top of that billions in subsidies to oil lobby CEOs and allows companies like Tesla to pay nothing in taxes effectively on $1 billion of revenue, because Trump wants to take from the poor to give to the rich. You see this in the Medicaid cuts, the food stamp cuts, everything he could do to afford these rich guy tax cuts, despite economics, basic economics, indicating a much higher cash velocity from the middle and lower class than the top 10 or 1%, which is the times in which money is exchanged hands, which allows it to hold a multiplicative effect, while the rich are more likely to hoard it, keeping that money out of the hands of others, out of the economy. The middle and lower class are more likely to spend it, allowing it to circulate into multiple businesses, multiple hands, filling the space of, say, $5, $10, $100, whatever it may be. Plus, we should be incentivizing higher education, not scaring people from chasing it by defaulting them on debt and crippling their monetary chances. Easing up this debt also typically leads to more job creation, more GDP growth, as these are intellectual members of society who could otherwise be productive if they weren't bogged down by debt. It makes no economic sense from any economic theory, but when your economic policy is literally enrich the billionaires at all costs, you're left doing and justifying things just like this.